One of the things that we first wanted to start off with was asking, you've made a kind of a transition, a recent transition. After 15 highly successful years as the associate librarian at Yale, you are now taking on some new responsibilities and challenges at the Center for Research Libraries. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, it's one of these things where, in a way, timing is everything. And as you may know, before I worked at Yale, I worked at the Association for Research Libraries in Washington, D.C., where our remit was for a group of libraries, 120 some odd libraries, with not operational activities, but program responsibilities in a number of critical key areas that served the whole membership. It was very exciting because in that kind of capacity, you are self-motivating, you work on your own, you have a lot of good colleagues to work with, but the administrative responsibilities of large budgets, a lot of staff, performance reviews, all of which are really important, are things that you don't have to deal with. You are focused much more entirely on the programmatic work. So shift over to a university library where there is an intellectual component to the work. It was collection development for me, international programs, but a whole lot of administration. And that's exciting in its own way, and it feels very important when you're doing it. But probably about 3 years ago, Bernie Riley, who's the president of CRL, started talking to me and saying, would you consider coming to work on some CRL projects in some capacity, perhaps as a visiting program officer or something like that. And those conversations went on in a very desultory way over time and never quite happened. But over the last 2 years, the Yale Library has been in a series of interim leadership situations and so on. And now there's somebody who's permanent, and there are various transitions happening, and seem to be a time to actually try to go back to do kind of things in a different place than we had been doing at ARL. So that's the attractive part of it, yeah. And what can I offer CRL that it can't already do? Maybe not all that much, but I think they want to strengthen their digital presence in various ways. It's a collection of some 5 million physical objects, started I think in 1949, mostly highly specialized lower use materials that member libraries can benefit from, and don't have to make those investments themselves for things that they wouldn't use all the time. And when Bernie Riley became president, one of the things I noticed about that organization was that it became less of an organization just for low-use old stuff, but this was a leader with a vision that the organization needed to move its physical collections and services somehow into digital space. And the organization has been working on that in various ways over the last handful of years through various of its projects, such as the track certification for digital repositories, deep interest in preservation, moving some of the very important global programs into digital platforms, webinars, delivering ILL materials wherever possible digitally. And now I think it would like to look at its relationship to licensing of commercial materials, making those more affordable and available and accessible to member libraries and maybe others, and how to work with the whole panoply of library consortia that are trying to benefit multiple libraries, and how to take one's place usefully in that group in a collaborative way. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Is there any project that's kind of on your front burner right now?
Well, my start date was October 1st. So there is a whole lot I don't know. And you know, it's very tempting to jump in and say, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing the other thing. But I think that would be arrogant.
Yeah,
I think
it's hard.
Well, and arrogant. And I think at the moment I'm looking at some possible opportunities that I see for collaboration with perhaps new or emerging database publishers of CRL type of materials, and also how CRL could maybe work with the kind of materials it has, newspaper collections and the old theses and stuff, with other publishers to make that material more broadly available. They do have this wonderful thing called the World Newspaper Archive, which is a partnership with Redex, which is working on making public domain Latin American and I think African newspapers available. But all of that really needs to be scaled up if CRL is to get the full value out of all of its collections to a larger member and non-member community. So there's a lot to do. And I'm not quite sure, you know, where to start with it all. But I have a couple of little starting.
Well, it sounds like you have plenty of challenges ahead of you.
I think it will be very interesting.